After 3 years of recuperation, I returned to the capital. My fiancé now had a woman by his side who bore a faint resemblance to me. At the welcome banquet, I accidentally stained her dress. She burst into tears. Pei Yanli, who had always been aloof, lost his temper with me for the first time. Lu Shijin, stop being unreasonable, will you? Unreasonable, expressionless. I slapped him across the face. Who do you think you are? Should I show him what true unreasonable behavior really looks like? Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. I spent 3 years recuperating in Jiangnan. On my first day back in the capital, fourth sister threw me a welcome banquet. The banquet was attended by all the young masters and noble ladies of the capital. 3 years apart, the noble ladies who were once close to me now sit stiffly today, each as quiet as a mouse. Even my younger brother, the crown prince, who used to sweetly call me imperial sister, treats me with distant politeness. At my welcoming banquet, they drink alone by themselves. No one paid me any attention, until a commotion arose at the entrance. Only when Pei Yanli entered with a woman in tow did the quiet banquet suddenly erupt in excitement. My younger brother, the crown prince, was the first to rise and greet them. Brother Pei, Sister Meng, you've finally arrived. The noble ladies, who had been quiet and reserved moments ago, now blossomed into smiles, calling out, wanting, come over here, we saved you a seat. Among the crowd stood a woman with rosy cheeks and a gentle, graceful smile, and Pei Yanli beside her also curved his lips slightly, his eyes smiling. His expression carried a tenderness I had never seen before. Fourth sister loved stirring up trouble without caring about the consequences. She whispered as she leaned closer, sis, see that? The stand-in successfully took the throne. While the white moonlight turned into the villainous, you come back a few months later, and their kid might already be running errands. Ever since we were little, fourth sister would always blurt out new phrases I couldn't understand, thanks to her 3 letters every month. Before I even returned to the capital, I knew about this illegitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's household, Meng Wantang, who bore 50% resemblance to me. They say this illegitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's household had been raised in a country estate all along, until I left the capital 3 years ago to recuperate. Only then was she brought back to the capital. At first, because her appearance and dressing style resembled mine, the noble ladies of the capital secretly mocked her as a copycat. The young masters from prestigious families also looked down on her with disdain, but gradually, people realized she was different from my arrogant and domineering self. She had a gentle temperament and was considerate of others. There are countless unexpectedly novel ideas. Today she makes floral soap, tomorrow she prepares delicacies. Thus, those noble ladies who once revolved around me now encircle her instead. My foodie crown prince brother gradually grew closer to her too. Even my fiancé, the young heir of Huayan Marquisate, Pei Yanli, who initially mocked her as the ugly woman copying beauty and warned her not to imitate the eldest princess, has now changed his tune. You are yourself, not anyone's substitute. Don't worry, with me here, no one will bully you, thanks to fourth sister's blessing. Her retelling painted such vivid scenes that I felt as if I'd witnessed them firsthand, never having left the capital. But, she resembles me. I raised an eyebrow, looking at the woman who grew nervous and flustered at my voice. Tugging at Pei Yanli's sleeve, I couldn't help but let out a soft TSK. How are they alike? Are you blind? Today, I was dressed entirely in red. Meng Wantang was also clad in red. I wore the newest hairpin from Jin Kui Fang atop my head. So did she. Indeed, she was a beauty. Yet even dressed in robes of similar style to mine, with her hair arranged in a comparable chignon, I couldn't detect even the slightest resemblance to me in her eyes and brows. My words left the room utterly silent. People turned to look, their expressions indescribably complex. Meng Wantang was the first to regain her composure. The color drained from her face as she suddenly fell to her knees with a thud. Your Highness possesses beauty that topples cities and kingdoms. While this humble subject is but Willow Catkins in appearance, how dare I compare myself to your Highness? Her kneeling, the crowd exchanged glances, their eyes filled with evident displeasure. The crown prince also frowned with displeasure. Elder sister, one's body, hair, and skin are gifts from one's parents. Sister Meng's appearance was determined from birth. Whether she resembles you or not isn't her decision. Surely you're not taking out your frustration on her just because you insist on being unique in everything. Taking out frustration. I almost wanted to laugh. Foolish little brother, didn't you realize I was scolding you? I chose the crown prince, yet my gaze swept over everyone on the field who wore displeased expressions. After 3 years apart, Why is Her Highness the eldest princess still so temperamental? I used to think Miss Meng resembled the eldest princess, but now that I see them together, how could the sickly princess ever compare to Miss Meng? In my opinion, the eldest princess only has that face worth looking at. What? Did you think that by leaving the banquet and whispering about me behind my back, I wouldn't hear? My temper is terrible, everyone in the capital knows this. My imperial father once advised me that women should be gentle and meek, yet I believe it's better to vent on others than to torment oneself, thus I never tolerate the slightest grievance. Watching these noble sons and daughters, their false harmony punctured, now trembling in silence, I've truly lost all interest. My welcoming banquet, and everyone looks like they're mourning their parents. Fourth sister, thank you for your efforts today. From now on, don't invite me to share seats with these people again, they're utterly repulsive. I couldn't bear to stay any longer. With deliberate grace, I rose to take my leave. However, as they passed by Meng Wanting, her maid suddenly exclaimed, "Oh no," with a trembling hand. The gift box she was holding suddenly fell and hit Meng Wanting. The rouge inside the gift box stained her dress red. The next moment, I immediately heard Pei Yanli's furious voice ringing in my ears. "What nonsense are you making up? Lu Shijin, these rouge powders were painstakingly made by Wantang over several sleepless nights. If you don't like them, fine, but why must you trample on her heartfelt efforts? Pei Yanli and I grew up together like bamboo and plum blossoms. He has always been aloof by nature, treating everyone with the same indifferent demeanor. We've known each other for years. This was the first time I'd ever seen him so angry. At this moment, he lowered his gaze, his eyes dark and stormy. Everyone gathered today because we've missed you during your years away from the capital, wanting to celebrate your return. Why did you have to make such an ugly scene? 3 years have passed, and you're still this temperamental." Actually, a crisp smack rang out. Pei Yanli's voice abruptly cut off. Gasps of shock rippled through the crowd one after another. Pei Yanli widened his eyes, his face filled with disbelief. It took him a long moment to find his voice again. "You, hit me, hit you. So what if I did?" I sneered coldly. "Do I look like I'm giving you face? What kind of trash are you? How dare you address me by my name directly? I've prided myself on cultivating patience for 3 years. Today counts as me being exceptionally good-tempered. Had I heard such slander behind my back in earlier years, I'd have been left cold at banquets. Even stray dogs passing by would have caught my curses. Yet they all seem to have forgotten this has been my temper since childhood. Some fools just had to go poking at my landmines. Your Highness, it's my fault, I didn't know. Didn't know you disliked rouge. If I've angered you, punish me as you will, but please don't take it out on the young master." Meng Wanting wept. Large teardrops fell one after another. Her face was deathly pale, pitifully delicate. Yet the moment she kowtowed begging for mercy, I distinctly caught a fleeting smile at the corner of her lips. This faint smile naturally went unnoticed by others, especially by Pei Yanli. His face darkened even more. He looked at me as if seeing me for the first time, gritting his teeth. "Fine, very fine indeed. I never knew Her Highness the Princess had such temperament." The Crown Prince also pointed at my nose. "Elder sister, what wrong has Sister Meng done? You're being so domineering. I'll tell Father Emperor and have him punish you severely." "Punish me?" I nearly laughed in anger. "Go ahead, as the Crown Prince. Yet showing no dignity befitting your station, Sister Meng this and Brother Pei that. Perhaps I should take this opportunity to ask His Majesty when I suddenly gained so many brothers and sisters." I turned my gaze to Pei Yanli again. "Has the Crown Prince forgotten that he's still betrothed to me? If you're so fond of Miss Meng, why not beg His Majesty to annul our engagement? That way you can properly indulge your secret affections and prove your love is stronger than gold. And you," shifting my gaze to Meng Wanting. I paused briefly before curling my lips into a smile. "What are you laughing at? Do you think Her Highness is some kind of fool? Though I may have a terrible temper, my eyes and ears work perfectly well. I never even touched your maid, so why did she fall? At least put on a convincing act if you're going to pretend. Don't think I'm as foolish as everyone else present." My outburst left the Crown Prince's face ashen and Pei Yanli's expression darkened like ink. Meng Wanting's face alternated between pale and flushed. Every person in attendance wore an extremely unpleasant expression. But I'm used to it, I just pretend not to see and roll my eyes. Don't worry, I won't trouble you all. Today's events will be faithfully relayed to Prime Minister Meng and Marquis Huayan. No, wait, tomorrow I'll beat drums and gongs, have a stage erected before the palace gates, and reenact today's scene in its entirety. With that, I ignored their suddenly altered expressions. However, as I turned to leave, I collided squarely with a man entering the doorway. The man was tall and unfamiliar, His nose was high-bridged, his eyes deep-set. He was a rare sight, a strikingly handsome man. But at this moment, I was in no mood to care whether he was handsome or not. I blurted out, "A good dog doesn't block the way. Are you blind? Get lost." As soon as the words left my mouth, the man's face flushed crimson, a pair of eyes shone brilliantly, suddenly glowing with an alarming intensity. It was the first time I'd seen someone remain unruffled after being scolded. I was slightly taken aback. Just as I was marveling inwardly, someone tugged at my sleeve, turning my head. I saw fourth sister smiling at me with an ingratiating expression. "Sis, let me say this first, if you've scolded someone else, you can't scold me anymore, okay? And also, hold off on scolding this guy for now. He's different. It seems like you actually made him enjoy being scolded. People can actually enjoy being scolded." This was actually the first time I'd heard of it, but judging by the man's reaction, it was indeed different from everyone else present. It gave me a vague sense of familiarity. I kept feeling as if I'd seen it somewhere before. Meeting my gaze, the man suddenly stiffened and introduced himself. "I'm Yi Mingju, Deputy General of the Longxiao Army. Congratulations on your Highness's recovery and return to the capital." His expression was dead serious, his voice booming like a great bell, yet his movements were frantic, after shoving the gift box into my arms all at once. He didn't wait for my reaction before slipping away like grease lightning. I was still somewhat puzzled even after boarding the carriage. "Yi Mingju, who is this person?" Fourth sister wasn't very clear about it either. "He's the Deputy General who returned to the capital last month with General Qin to report on his duties. I heard he only enlisted 5 years ago. Do you know what the Dragon Roar Battalion is? To rise to this position in just 5 years, this man is no ordinary fellow." Her tone didn't sound like she had invited the other party. I slightly furrowed my brows. "You don't know them?" "Huh, should I know them?" They looked at each other in dismay. Fourth sister's gaze was clear yet foolish. For a long moment, her eyes darted away nervously as she swallowed hard. "Sis, aren't you going to see what he sent you?" She eagerly unwrapped the exquisite wooden box on the table. The instant she saw what was inside, she suddenly let out a surprised wow. My eyelids twitched slightly, and I couldn't help curling my lips. This person came uninvited, yet their gift is quite intriguing. It was a small, delicate dagger. The blade was sharp, gleaming with a cold, eerie light. The design is simple and unadorned, save for a single translucent blue gemstone embedded where the handle meets the blade. Not bad, to my liking, though unpleasant. This welcoming banquet served its purpose, but thanks to this dagger, I didn't feel too stifled that night. I slept exceptionally well. The next day, I rose early too, seeing that it was almost time for court. I had someone bring a stool and sat right at the palace gate. For every official who arrived, my maidservant would call out their name. "Lord Li, yesterday at the welcoming banquet, your esteemed daughter mocked our princess, saying that despite 3 years of recuperation, she remains a sickly weakling. Vice Minister Zhao, yesterday at the same banquet, your honorable son insulted our princess, claiming she has a terrible temper and is worthless beyond her pretty face. And Minister Wang, these maids by my side have been trained on the military grounds since childhood, each one robust in physique and full of vigor. Thus, even if the ministers avoided crossing paths with me, these words still reached their ears without missing a single syllable. Today's morning court session ought to be quite lively, because no sooner had the morning court adjourned than His Majesty summoned me to the palace. Outside the imperial study, the crown prince was kneeling. When he saw me, he gritted his teeth. His previously aggrieved expression instantly darkened, clearly still resentful. "What are you here for?" I smiled. "Don't worry, I'm not here to plead for you." Probably provoked by my laughter, he gritted his teeth and retorted, "What are you so smug about? You're just relying on father's favoritism. You grew up showered with endless pampering. While Sister Meng suffered for so many years at the estate, did she ever enjoy a single day? Why must you trouble her the moment you returned?" He still kept calling her Sister Meng at every turn. Hopeless. I couldn't bear to look at my foolish younger brother's idiotic face any longer. I strode right past him and pushed open the doors to the imperial study. "Father Emperor, this crown prince is useless. Let's depose him." Behind me, the crown prince was hopping mad with rage. Inside, father showed little expression. If the crown prince lacks judgment, that's one thing, but how could you join in his recklessness? He dismissed the crown prince and the attendants, then handed me the memorial he had finished reviewing. Seeing the words condemning my arrogance and indignation over my slapping Marquis Huayan's heir at the welcome banquet came as no surprise to me. These censors are all well informed and indignant about these trivial matters, Yet they turned a blind eye and remained silent about the military equipment embezzlement case 3 years ago. How amusing. I tossed aside the memorial and handed the notebook in my arms to Father Emperor. With each page he turned, Father Emperor's expression grew darker. By the end, he was absolutely furious. How dare they? Why wouldn't they dare? I took a teacup, poured myself some tea from the pot, and held it in my hands, taking small sips. 4 years ago, the Western Rong Army launched a surprise attack, annihilating the Chunyang forces overnight, leading to the fall of Chunyang City. Not a single civilian survived. Back then, it was these very ministers who wrote in their memorials that the incident was sudden and our troops couldn't react in time. What a joke. It was merely an excuse to cover up their embezzlement, armed with nothing but scrap metal. It was no different from barehanded combat. How could they possibly withstand the Western Rong's elite troops and superior weapons? My health truly hasn't been good, but these 3 years recuperating south of the Yangtze were merely a pretense. In secret, I was investigating the reasons behind Chunyang City's military defeat. This matter was something I personally volunteered to undertake. It was also Father Emperor's instruction, because no one would be wary of a conspicuously flamboyant invalid. The Spring Sun City case back then was intricate and far-reaching. The maternal clan of the Crown Prince, the Qi family, along with several court ministers were all implicated in it. Others can be ignored for now. We can deal with them slowly. How many outrageous things has the Qi family done over the years? Relying on the Crown Prince, maternal relatives manipulating power, blinded by greed, the Crown Prince is weak-willed, acting recklessly without regard for consequences. Does Father Emperor truly intend to hand over the Great Yuan's empire to him? Father understands all these principles well, yet he still hesitated. Though he is no fool, his indecisive nature makes him habitually weigh every option repeatedly. Especially since the Qi family was not only the maternal clan of the Crown Prince but also his own maternal relatives. This case involved too many people, and if those court officials were not handled properly, it could cause turmoil in the court and undermine its foundation, not to mention deposing the heir apparent of a nation. Thus, hearing him say, "Let me deliberate on this matter carefully," I wasn't surprised. I only asked for the imperial favor of breaking off the engagement with Pei Yanli before leaving the palace. Though Father Emperor might be muddle-headed in major affairs, when it came to minor matters, he was absolutely clear-headed. No sooner had I left than the imperial decree annulling the engagement was delivered to the Hurian Marquis residence. When Pei Yanli arrived holding the imperial decree, I was drinking apricot blossom wine brewed by fourth sister herself. I spotted Pei Yanli from afar. She said, "You two talk, what's improper shouldn't be seen, and I won't listen." Then she turned and entered the side hall just beyond the wall. Unaware of Pei Yanli's situation, upon entering, he said coldly, "Princess, let's talk." Yesterday, he received a slap from me. Today, his expression was surprisingly calm. He had reverted to his former aloof indifference. I was still in a rather good mood, not bothering to take offense at his rudeness. I tilted my chin slightly. "What do you want to discuss?" He threw the imperial edict at me, frowning as he asked, "Why must you take things to such extremes? Do you have any idea how people are gossiping outside after today's spectacle?" I couldn't care less and pushed the edict aside. How else would they gossip? That I'm arrogant and domineering, lacking all manners? Surely they wouldn't spread rumors that you're secretly involved with Meng Wanting while still engaged to me. At the mention of Meng Wanting, his emotions finally showed signs of fluctuation. "I know you believed those baseless rumors before returning to the capital, but my relationship with Miss Meng is completely proper. There hasn't been the slightest impropriety. You needn't harbor suspicions or jealousy over this." He paused. He seemed to be carefully weighing his words, softening his tone as well. He appeared every bit the picture of magnanimous righteousness. "She's a concubine-born daughter, cast into the countryside estate by her legal mother to suffer for over a decade. With your outburst today, the Meng family will surely send her back to that wretched place. After all, she's a living, breathing person. How can you be so aggressive? Are you trying to drive her to despair?" "Me, driving her?" I almost wanted to laugh. Today at the palace gates, I didn't utter a single word about her. Why her legal mother sends her to the estate is the Meng family's private affair. What does that have to do with me? Besides, what does the Meng family's affair have to do with you? You keep insisting there's nothing improper between you two, so why hasn't she come crying to me first? Yet here you are playing the righteous defender. I've never been one to mince words. Who knows which remark finally provoked him? His fists suddenly clenched, his expression tinged with faint anger. "Yesterday at the welcoming banquet, you just slandered me and her, And today you're calling off the engagement, now that rumors are spreading like wildfire. Making such a grand show of it, aren't you just trying to confirm those rumors and push me and her into the eye of the storm?" His eyes were filled with disappointment. "Lu Shijin, had I known you'd turn out like this, I shouldn't have saved you when you were kidnapped by bandits during that hunting expedition. Indeed, 10 years ago during the royal hunt near the capital, when my horse went mad and bolted from the hunting grounds, he did save me after I was captured by horse bandits. That year, the bandits mistook me for some ordinary official's daughter and planned to ransom me for money. After all, for the sake of preserving the reputation of the womenfolk in noble households, wealthy families would spend money to settle matters quietly. But they never expected that I was the eldest princess of the current dynasty. Upon learning my identity, they realized there was no way to hush up the matter. To avoid bringing disaster upon themselves, they set fire to the thatched cottage, intending to burn me alive. But I didn't die, only my eyes were ruined by the billowing smoke. Before choking unconscious, I faintly saw someone rushing in. Later, they all said it was Pei Yanli who saved me. Out of gratitude for saving my life, coupled with the deliberate matchmaking by Lady Huayan, after my coming-of-age ceremony, His Majesty naturally arranged our marriage. But, Pei Yanli, was it really you who saved me back then? A crisp bang shattered the silence. I smashed the wine glass at his feet. I'd thought to spare him some dignity after all these years of acquaintance. If he doesn't want it, so be it. My eyes might have been blinded by smoke back then, but my ears weren't deaf. If it weren't for the friendship between your ancestor and mine when they fought side by side to conquer this land, I would have exposed you long ago. My voice was barely above a whisper. I rose and stepped forward, stopping before him with a faint smile. You could have let this matter rest, and I might have respected you as a man for charging here in righteous anger to confront me over a woman, but you just had to bring it up. What, did you think I was blind and foolish, or did you believe I tolerated your antics all this time because I harbored romantic feelings for you? It seemed he hadn't expected me to know the truth of those past events, nor that I held not the slightest affection for him. Pei Yanli's face gradually paled. But I wasn't finished yet, pretending to suddenly remember. By the way, you said you and Meng Wanting are innocent, but on the 16th day of the first lunar month last year, you two were holding hands while visiting Whitehorse Temple together, and on Chishi Festival last year, you were secretly kissing in a secluded corner of Osmanthus Alley. If all this counts as innocence, then what would count as guilt? I never expected I knew so much. Pei Yanli's face turned pale, then ashen. Then pale again, yet though he clenched his fists, no words escaped his lips. He could only watch as I smiled radiantly. Pei Yanli, a dog's mouth can't spit out ivory. Don't be so quick to spout nonsense. Otherwise, I might really start suspecting you're trying to laugh me to death. When it comes to verbal sparring, I've never lost to anyone. Pei Yanli had arrived full of bluster. His face turned alternately pale and flushed as he left, unable to utter a single word. Only after everyone had gone far away did fourth sister emerge from the side hall. She was still shelling the unfinished sunflower seeds in her hand. Her face was full of curiosity, but she didn't ask any questions, just asked the most crucial question. Sis, how did you know he was kissing that Meng family's illegitimate daughter? I sat down to drink without looking up. Guessed. She didn't believe it and reacted as if facing a formidable enemy. You guessed it so accurately. Impossible. Are there others writing to you besides me? Who, oh my God, do you have another little sister out there? Am I not your only precious little sister anymore? She pretended to be aggrieved, nuzzling her head against my shoulder with sticky affection. I disagree. I refuse to accept this relationship. Indeed, during these 3 years, others besides her have written me letters. 3 years, 6 letters. Each letter spoke mostly of the situation in the capital, and above all, of how intimate Pei Yanli and Meng Wanting were. But to this day, I still don't know the name of the person who wrote those letters. I'm not sure how to break this to fourth sister. Knowing she was deliberately clowning around to lighten the mood and wasn't seriously pressing the matter, I played along without calling her out. I just pushed her head away with a single finger, coldly crushing her words. Don't forget, besides you, I have 4 younger sisters. The youngest is just 1.5 this year. She looked utterly shattered. It was as if I'd pieced myself back together. Pitifully wiping away non-existent tears, I resumed cracking sunflower seeds. Oh right. Sis, those noble young masters who were gossiping about you yesterday apparently got mysteriously beaten up at home this morning. The Li family's young mistress and the Wang family's too, their perfectly fine boudoirs were suddenly infested with snakes. Heard they've been crying all day. Who do you think could be so kind? Maybe some chivalrous passerby who saw injustice. Listening to her speculate on her own, a fleeting figure flashed through my mind, too quick to grasp. I didn't pay it much mind, picking up the apricot blossom wine to take a delicate sip. Whether he's a true knight-errant, who can say? The capital seemed unusually lively that night. The Li family's young mistress knelt all night in the ancestral hall. The young lady of the Wang family copied their admonitions for women all night. The young master of the Zhao family, a vice minister's son, received 30 lashes of household discipline. Even the crown prince was confined to the Eastern Palace and punished by copying strategies for emperors throughout the night. Meanwhile, Meng Wantang was secretly sent out of the city overnight by the matriarch of the Meng family, but within a few days, she returned with great fanfare. Because the Empress Dowager had left the palace to worship Buddha, and on the way, her horse was startled and went mad, galloping to the edge of a cliff. At the critical moment when her life hung by a thread, Meng Wantang saved her. The Empress Dowager took a liking to this lifesaver and personally brought her back to the capital, even requesting an imperial favor to confer upon her the title of County Princess of Anyang. On May 16, she even specially invited her to the palace to attend her birthday banquet. The Empress Dowager disliked lively gatherings. Not many guests came on her birthday. Aside from His Majesty and the imperial concubines, there were only us princes and princesses, along with the Huayan Marquis's family. When I arrived, Meng Wantang and Pei Yanli were already there. Even the crown prince, who had been ordered to be confined to his quarters for a month, was present. The group was chatting and laughing around the Empress Dowager. Upon seeing me, they all fell silent simultaneously, especially the Empress Dowager, who glanced at me and said, "You're back, neither warm nor cold," as if they were the ones who were truly family, while I was just an insignificant outsider. I don't care either. Having instructed the maid to present the gifts, I casually took a seat beside fourth sister. With an indifferent tone, I said, "Indeed, I missed you. How could I not return for a visit?" There wasn't much sincerity in these words, and the Empress Dowager naturally could tell, but she had grown accustomed to it. Following convention, she snorted coldly. But when she saw her father and consort Duan approaching hand in hand, she finally smiled and ordered the banquet to begin. The air filled with the melodies of strings and bamboo, accompanied by rising music and dance. Though the birthday feast appeared harmonious on the surface, everyone present harbored their own hidden thoughts. I don't like these kinds of occasions. Halfway through the drinking rounds, I was just looking for an excuse to leave. Suddenly, I saw Meng Wantang holding a wine cup, gracefully walking toward me. "Your Highness," she stopped, her smile perfectly poised at the corners of her lips. There was some misunderstanding between us at the previous welcoming banquet. Today, I take this opportunity to offer you a toast. If there was anything I did that displeased you before, I hope you can forgive me. Out of the corner of his eye, Pei Yanli's hand holding the wine cup paused slightly. The crown prince also stopped his movements and glanced in their direction. I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. "Oh, finally, they've arrived. Thought they were going to stay mute all day." Meng Wantang's words remained unchanged from last time. At first glance, it appears flawless and beyond reproach, yet upon closer inspection, pitfalls lurk everywhere. Claiming it's a misunderstanding while demanding forgiveness. If I drink this toast, wouldn't I be telling everyone that last time I was just being petty and deliberately difficult? Looking at Meng Wantang with her meek and submissive demeanor, I curled my lips into a smile. "Sorry, my health isn't good, I don't drink." Hearing this, she froze slightly, her gaze dropped to the wineglass in my hand, and her expression suddenly turned aggrieved. "But, Your Highness was just drinking it." No answer came. I poured the wine behind me and set down the empty cup. "Oh, now it can't be drunk." This brazen act made her eyes widen abruptly. A flash of ferocity vanished from her gaze, yet in the blink of an eye, she became pitifully vulnerable again. As expected, "Your Highness still blames me." She had an impressive ability to burst into tears at will. Large teardrops fell one after another, instantly drawing everyone's attention. The Empress Dowager frowned, her face full of concern. "Why is Tanga crying? Who bullied you?" The silk music also abruptly ceased. In the blink of an eye, the hall became so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Meng Wantang hastily explained, "Your Majesty, no one bullied me. I just got sand in my eyes." Though she said this, but she swiftly glanced at me, her expression flustered, choking back sobs she couldn't quite conceal. She looked utterly pitiful. Brimming with grievance, as expected, the Empress Dowager was furious. "Lu Shijin, today is this old one's birthday celebration. Tanga is an honored guest invited by this old one, who once saved my life. How dare you bully her in front of everyone? Do you have no regard for this old one at all? A stage once set never lacks actors eager to perform. The Crown Prince responded almost immediately. What wouldn't my imperial elder sister dare to do, imperial grandmother? You don't know, just recently my elder sister not only publicly berated the children of important ministers, slapped the heir of Huayan Marquis, ostentatiously broke off her engagement, but even encouraged His Majesty to depose me as Crown Prince. The moment the deposing the Crown Prince statement was uttered, the entire hall erupted in uproar. The concubines exchanged bewildered glances. Even Crown Prince's mother, Consort Duan, widened her eyes in disbelief. Your Majesty, can this be true? Before my imperial father could speak, the Empress Dowager snatched up a teacup from beside her and hurled it straight at me. But she was old, her spirit willing but her flesh weak. The teacup fell to the ground before it could reach me, so all she could do was slam the table and point her finger at my face. Damn brat. Your Majesty, take a good look, this is that wretched woman's precious daughter. She's exactly like her mother, vulgar and lawless. My mother was Father Emperor's willfully wedded first wife during his youth. Back when Father Emperor hadn't yet ascended the throne, Grand Empress Dowager despised her lowly origins as a medical maid, constantly berating her for crude behavior. She even forced Father Emperor, against his will, to take in Crown Prince's mother, her own niece. She was determined to make her niece the legitimate heir. Yet even after my mother's passing, my father kept the throne vacant, never yielding. Thus, the Empress Dowager grew increasingly resentful of me, seeing me as nothing but a thorn in her side. Today was clearly a banquet set with hidden daggers. I don't care either, old madam, you keep saying vulgar and lowly wretch, such ugly words. Not even my mother the Empress, let alone those country women, would ever utter them. Watching her flush crimson with anger, she seemed about to retort. I sighed softly again, deliberately cutting her off. Alas! If your Majesty judges solely by who cries first to show favor, or believes whoever comes complaining first, then truly I've no defense against such muddled reasoning. In that case, why not take their words as truth? If you wish to champion their grievances, then punish me, needle torture, finger presses, whatever you will. If that still doesn't quench your anger, have me drawn and quartered, or sliced to death by 1,000 cuts. My death would vacate this position. Then your beloved favorite needn't suffer as a mere county princess. She could be crowned in my stead to fulfill filial duties before you. Wouldn't that serve both purposes beautifully? I'd said all there was to say. Where could the Empress Dowager find words to retort? Her face turned livid, her chest heaving violently as she pointed at me. You, seeing her like this, I truly feared she might faint from rage. Others feared the same. A crowd gathered around her, coaxing her while simultaneously blaming me. Your Majesty, please don't let anger harm your health. Sister, how could you show such disrespect to our grandmother? Your Majesty, look at Jinnah. Having been patted into submission, the Empress Dowager finally found her words again. Fine indeed, you insolent, sharp-tongued wretch. Don't think this old woman dares not punish you. Guards, enough. The Emperor's furious roar interrupted the Empress Dowager once more, and instantly silenced the entire hall. What's all this commotion at a perfectly good birthday banquet? With a cold expression, he slowly scanned everyone present. When his gaze fell upon me, his tone softened slightly. Jinnah, you're not well, go rest first. The capital has been chaotic these days. Stay within the manor and don't go anywhere or receive any visitors. He ostensibly placed me under house arrest. In reality, he was forbidding anyone from causing me trouble. I understood the implied meaning perfectly well, and naturally so did the Empress Dowager and her faction. The Empress Dowager couldn't believe it. Your Majesty, how can you be so partial? The Emperor coldly snorted. Mother, are you not being partial yourself? His words struck the Empress Dowager like a fishbone stuck in her throat, for she truly was biased. Among the Emperor's 2 sons and 6 daughters, her only warmth was reserved for the Crown Prince, who carried the bloodline of the Qi family. The outcome of this banquet no longer concerns me. Rising to bow respectfully to His Majesty, I turned to leave the feast, yet my steps faltered as I passed Meng Wantang, perhaps unprepared for such grand theatrics. What seemed poised to erupt had been effortlessly diffused by His Majesty's mere 2 sentences. Meng Wantang's resentful gaze couldn't be concealed, her fierce stare fixed on me with palpable hostility. I didn't mind it at all. Curving my lips into a smile, I patted her shoulder and leaned close to whisper in her ear. Miss Meng, your skills at setting up dramatic scenes still need work. You'd do well to learn more from those 2 over there. I signaled with my eyes for her to look at the Empress Dowager and Consort Duan. After all, 13 years ago, these two staged such a grand spectacle that they not only forced my mother to miscarry, but also left her depressed and bedridden for a year afterward, dying young, at this birthday banquet. Fourth sister didn't stay long either. I had barely stepped out when she followed right behind me. "Sis, you're looking kinda cool today." That drawn-out O of hers twisted and turned like a mountain road, her eyes sparkled brightly, actually seeming more excited than I was. Without waiting for my consent, she raised an eyebrow and winked at me. "Sis, don't sleep tonight. I'm taking you to see a grand show." She said she'd take me to see a play. Yet her arrival that night was most peculiar. Like a thief in the night, she leapt down from the rooftop clad in black. She wasn't alone. There stood Yi Mingju, dressed all in black like herself, the same man she'd briefly met at the welcoming banquet. This surprised me greatly. "What's going on?" Fourth sister patted her chest proudly. "My newly recruited underling. Tonight he'll be your human steed." Not sure which word was inappropriate to hear. Yi Mingju, who initially only had red ears, instantly flushed crimson across his entire face. His body stiffened as he nodded emphatically. He looked at the sky, the ground, the ceiling, anywhere but at me. The pairing of these two seemed utterly bizarre no matter how you looked at it. Fourth sister offered no further explanation, urging me to change into night clothes. She had Yi Mingju carry me on his back before leaping onto the rooftops. I never knew fourth sister possessed such nimble skills. The deserted street late at night was occasionally patrolled by imperial guards and night watchmen. To avoid people, she leaped and dashed through alleys and rooftops, her figure appearing lighter than a swallow. Yet Yi Mingju, who was carrying me, had unsteady breathing and hurried steps. He twisted his foot again and nearly fell off the rooftop. I couldn't help but frown and whisper, "General Yi, am I some kind of hot potato to you?" The man abruptly halted his steps. "Why, Your Highness? Why would you say such a thing?" His voice was strained, and the muscles on his back tensed up, pressing uncomfortably against me. No time to dwell on these details. I raised an eyebrow. "With such unsteady footing, I'd have thought you wanted to kill me by dropping me." Yi Mingju fell silent. Only the hand supporting my knees stiffened slightly more. The night breeze was slightly cool, but through the fabric, the person beneath felt frighteningly hot. Just then, fourth sister stopped. She pointed to a rooftop not far away, signaling silence and caution. Then she lowered her posture, avoiding the guards in the courtyard as she lightly leaped onto the roof. At the critical moment, Yi Mingju finally didn't make any mistakes and effortlessly helped me across. Under the lifted roof tile was a spacious room. Inside, the voices of the two people talking sounded very familiar. "Tanga, you said Lu Shijin would be utterly disgraced and the Empress Dowager would kill him. But given today's situation, how can I believe you?" Her delicate, boneless hands crept up the man's spine. "Don't be so impatient, Pei Lang. The celestial scripture foretold that Lu Shijin will surely die, and you will undoubtedly ascend to the imperial throne. See, it says I'm heaven's chosen daughter, born with phoenix destiny, able to turn any adversity into triumph. Didn't I just become a county princess and return to the capital in glory?" Tanga, Pei Lang, the two lovers meeting secretly in the room. Who else could it be but Meng Wantang and Pei Yanli? Pei Yanli and Meng Wantang had no idea there were 3 pairs of ears eavesdropping from the rooftop at that very moment. They were brazenly discussing how to steal the Great Yuan's throne, especially Meng Wantang, who shamelessly declared, "The emperor is foolish, the crown prince incompetent. The Qi family's relatives hold sway, and the court is full of parasites. When the Western Rong invade and Great Yuan loses 3 cities in succession, the eldest prince dies in battle. The emperor falls ill from rage and takes to his bed, and the crown prince ascends the throne. You can righteously rise in rebellion with evidence of the Qi family's embezzlement of military supplies. After all, the impending loss of those 3 cities also bears the Qi family's fingerprints." Pei Yanli sighed softly. "Easier said than done. Who knows how long we'll have to wait. Soon, the celestial scriptures foretell that 2 months after Lu Shijin's death, war will break out with the Western Rong. Just be patient, my lord." They exchanged words back and forth, yet though I recognized every single character, but when strung together into sentences reaching my ears, each word became utterly incomprehensible. It wasn't until I retraced my steps back to the residence that I finally understood somewhat. No wonder. I kept saying Meng Wantang and I had no enmity between us, so why has she been targeting me everywhere since my return to the capital? I thought she resented my engagement to Pei Yanli, but who knew they were actually waiting for me to die, coveting the imperial throne, a celestial scripture. How intriguing. After pondering it thoroughly, I nearly laughed aloud, turning my gaze to fourth sister. She stood clutching her sleeves in the corner. All her earlier enthusiasm for taking me to the opera vanished, looking like a mute quail, pitiful yet adorable. Her expression clearly showed she was hiding something from me. And it wasn't trivial. I narrowed my eyes and crooked my finger, beckoning her to come closer. Fourth sister, don't you have anything to say? For example, how did you know where they'd meet secretly today? Hearing this, her expression froze momentarily. After hesitating for what felt like ages, she finally shut her eyes and steeled her heart as if marching to her doom, because the divine scripture Meng Wanting spoke of was written by me. Sis, you might not believe this, but this world is actually a book, and the original female lead wasn't Meng Wanting, it was me. The fourth younger sister said that this world I've lived in for nearly 20 years is just a book from her world. She transmigrated into this book and was originally its female protagonist. At the age of 5, I slipped out of the imperial palace through a dog hole and was abducted by human traffickers. It wasn't until I left the capital to recuperate in Jiangnan that she, bearing some resemblance to me, would be taken back to the capital by Pei Yanli as my substitute. She also claimed that all those experiences, being protected by the crown prince and Pei Yanli, saving the Empress Dowager and being granted the title of county princess, were rightfully hers to live through. As for me, the villainess of this story, he would eventually reap what he sowed after repeatedly targeting her, meeting his end with a poisoned chalice from the fiercely protective Empress Dowager. The divine scripture Meng Wanting spoke of is actually my record of major events and key timelines after I transmigrated here, like when you left the capital, when I first met Pei Yanli, when the Empress Dowager encountered danger during Buddhist rites, and when the Western Rome would launch their invasion, along with Pei Yanli's eventual ascension to the throne. Back then, I was so afraid of forgetting that I even wrote down numerous recipes. Dreaming of growing up to make cosmetics and gourmet food to earn money, her words weren't particularly obscure. I understood quickly enough, though it seemed unbelievable, like something out of Arabian Nights. Yet when it came to fourth sister, somehow it all made perfect sense. But why is what you wrote in Meng Wanting's hands? Just mentioning this made her furious. That year when I was 5, I sneaked out of the palace through the dog hole. I clearly buried that journal. But somehow that Meng woman dug it up and started deliberately following the plot, copying you at every turn. Isn't that infuriating? I don't feel angry, just somewhat confused. According to what you said, the female lead who should have followed this storyline was you. And you were supposed to marry Pei Yanli to become empress. Why didn't you follow it? Hearing this, her figure froze momentarily, suddenly burst into tears with a loud wah. I'm a fresh college graduate who suffered through 4 years of 8 a.m. classes. I don't want to endure 2 more years of begging. When I could be a princess with 8 husbands, why should I marry one man and compete with other women? The worst part is, the scheming Pei Yanli isn't even my type. I only like sweet younger guys who call me big sister. I seem to understand somewhat, yet not entirely, but fourth sister didn't give me time to ponder carefully. She was crying her eyes out, tears and snot streaming down her face. She didn't even use her own clothes to wipe them, just kept tugging at my sleeve pitifully. Sis, your death is a crucial turning point. 2 months after you die, the Western Rome will suddenly declare war. Although the current situation differs slightly from the records, the general course still follows the original storyline. What should we do? I don't want you to be killed by the Empress Dowager. Woo-woo. She buried her head against my chest, her sobbing giving me a headache. Couldn't pull her away. I gave up, rubbing my throbbing forehead. I tapped lightly on the table with one hand. After some thought, I instructed her, go, call your little brother in. Fourth sister looked up, her cheeks flushed red, bewildered, but she complied. Yi Mingju entered frowning, dressed entirely in black. I'm not sure if it's because I overheard the conversation between Pei Yanli and Meng Wanting. At this moment, his expression was somewhat serious. With an impassive face, I commanded, kneel. Without the slightest hesitation, he dropped to his knees with a thud. He's quite obedient. I just wonder, will he be useful? With this thought, I suppressed my astonishment, stood up, and walked over to him. Looking down, I lifted his chin with my fingers. There's one thing, it may deceive the emperor, or it may cost you your life, but it could save the people of 3 cities in the Great Yuan. Would you dare to do it? This gesture carried a certain degree of scrutiny and intimidation. Many proud individuals, especially men, would instinctively resist or evade it. Yet Yi Mingju didn't. Not only did he show no hesitation, his cheeks even flushed red, deep within his eyes. There even flickered emotions I couldn't comprehend. I am willing, whatever your highness commands, be it climbing mountains of blades or descending into seas of fire, I am willing to do anything. meeting his burning, eager gaze. I was slightly taken aback. The next moment, she couldn't help but curl her lips into a smile. In that case, they want me dead, don't they? Fine, I'll just die once for them to see. I died. The cause of death was the same as recorded in the Celestial Book. He drank a cup of wine bestowed by the Empress Dowager. The wine was obtained on the day of Qianshun festival, when fourth sister remarked in the Empress Dowager's palace, "Only eldest sister lacks this sacrificial wine, if word gets out." People might think grandmother doesn't wish for eldest sister's health and longevity. Drinking sacrificial wine symbolizes peace and smooth sailing. This custom has been passed down since the Yuan dynasty. There was naturally no poison in the wine, it was merely an illusion I created by taking a feigned death potion. White banners were hung at the princess's residence, with fourth sister's mesmerizing acting and heart-wrenching sobs. No one doubted me. On the night of the burial, Yi Mingju, who should have long since left the capital, also managed to dig me out of the coffin with ease. Outside the city walls stood a courtyard my mother had secretly purchased in her early years. After settling me in, Yi Mingju didn't linger but departed the capital without delay. Meanwhile, I sent a confidential letter to Manghua City, addressed to my eldest brother who had been stationed at the western Rome frontier for many years. My death left the emperor, my father, utterly heartbroken with grief. The Empress Dowager refused to admit she had taken action, yet Father Emperor still turned against her, perhaps wishing to give her and the Crown Prince one more chance. Father Emperor never mentioned the old case of Chunyang City's fall. Instead, they targeted the recently exposed case of Consort Duan's brother forcing virtuous women into prostitution and seizing farmland, yet the Qi family's maternal relatives showed no remorse whatsoever. To shift blame, they wildly accused others in an attempt to pin their crimes on innocent people. Thus, for nearly 2 months now, everyone in the capital has been living in fear. 2 months later, a battle report arrived post-haste from the frontier, delivered 800 li in urgent haste. Then came the second, the third, each bore the same news. The Western Rome launched a surprise attack, and the city gates fell. The final dispatch shockingly announced that the eldest prince had resisted the Western Rome army desperately, only to be cut down amidst a flurry of swords. Father is ill, though indecisive. He wasn't a perfect emperor, yet he was truly a good father. At the morning court, upon hearing news of the eldest prince's death in battle, he collapsed unconscious from grief and rage. For half a month thereafter, he remained bedridden in a coma, showing no signs of waking. Without the emperor presiding over the court, chaos ensued like a boiling pot of porridge. Under the Empress Dowager's directive, led by the Qi family, ministers petitioned for the crown prince's ascension to the throne under the banner of a nation cannot go a single day without its ruler. The crown prince readily agreed, but on the day of his ascension, before he could even sit on the dragon throne, Pei Yanli led the imperial guards to apprehend him. Shortly after, a denunciation of the crown prince swiftly spread from the palace to the streets. I've read this denunciation of the crown prince. The document meticulously detailed the evidence of crown prince and the Qi family, along with over 10 court officials, embezzling military supplies, leading to the fall of Chunyang City 3 years ago and the recent loss of 3 frontier cities. Culminating in the death of the eldest prince in battle, Pei Yanli had just cause for his actions. He imprisoned the crown prince in the ancestral temple and placed the Empress Dowager and Consort Duan under house arrest. As for all the implicated officials listed in the denunciation of the crown prince, he swiftly arrested and imprisoned them with lightning speed. For the next few days, he stayed behind closed doors, putting on the appearance of someone indifferent to power, upright and honest, solely devoted to seeking justice for the people. This turn of events didn't surprise me in the least, and I guessed he surely had further moves planned. Sure enough, on the 3rd day of the crown prince's imprisonment, the imperial astronomers suddenly declared that the North Star shone brightly, signaling the birth of a wise ruler. The next day, Prime Minister Meng knelt for hours outside the Marquis of Huayan's residence, with the same old rhetoric. A nation cannot be without a ruler for even a day, using the justification that the Pei family's ancestor had fought alongside the founding emperor to establish the dynasty, thus making the Pei family fully qualified to oversee the situation. He pleaded with Pei Yanli to ascend the throne. The court ministers also chimed in unanimously. Indeed, it happened swiftly. After feigning reluctance several times, Pei Yanli finally settled on an accession date with apparent hesitation 3 days later. As if fearing others wouldn't know it was Minister Meng who helped him seize the throne, he even went so far as to designate the empress candidate Meng Wantang. But he was about to be disappointed. just as he donned the imperial robe and led Meng Wantang toward the dragon throne, a loud cry of "The emperor has awakened," interrupted his coronation ceremony. "What's all this noise? Guards, drag this ill-mannered wretch out at once." Meng Xiong frowned and issued a harsh command. The young eunuch wept bitterly, his face streaked with tears. It was impossible to tell whether his emotions stemmed from sorrow or joy, yet he still risked his life to make his words understood. "The late emperor, no, Emperor Jiayuan, his awakened, the emperor has awakened." Pei Yanli and the Meng father-daughter pair were utterly shocked, but at this point, there was simply no turning back for them. Fortunately, with the imperial guards under control, the palace was firmly in our grasp. Now, there was no choice but to press on, proceed with the grand ceremony. Pei Yanli gritted his teeth and ascended the dragon throne. When I arrived with the emperor, this was exactly the scene we witnessed. Dressed in imperial dragon robes, Pei Yanli sat solemnly upon the throne alongside Meng Wantang in her resplendent attire. The ministers exchanged uneasy glances among themselves. 1/3 of the court officials followed Prime Minister Meng's lead, kneeling and proclaiming, "Long live His Majesty, long live Her Majesty." This spectacle surpassed any grand theatrical performance I'd ever witnessed. I couldn't help myself and burst out laughing. "Oh my, both the dragon robe and phoenix gown fit you perfectly. You've been preparing for quite a while, haven't you?" It wasn't just Pei Yanli. The moment I made a sound, everyone turned to look at me simultaneously, all wearing expressions as if they'd seen a ghost, more shocking than seeing my father full of vitality. Without a trace of illness, of course. Meng Wantang was the most excited. "Lu Shijin, you're not dead," her face filled with disbelief, her exclamation almost cracking with emotion. Pei Yanli was smarter than her. He didn't ask, his gaze shifting between me and Father Emperor. "Did you fake illness and death on purpose?" I didn't answer. Father Emperor answered him, "Feigning illness. Had I not fallen ill this once, I would never have known how many wolves harbored treacherous ambitions. What? Does the dragon throne sit so comfortably that I must personally come to invite you?" The emperor's authority radiated without need for anger, but Pei Yanli didn't move. Actually, as long as he stepped down, there would still be room for retreat. After all, he had only exposed the Qi family and the crown prince. In the eyes of the world, ascending the throne was something Chancellor Meng and the ministers had repeatedly urged upon him, a move of helpless compliance. But having come this far, how could he possibly resign himself to failure? Meng Wantang and Meng Xiong were equally unwilling to concede. "Pei Lang, at this point we cannot retreat. To retreat would mean certain death." "Exactly. The crown prince lacks virtue, the eldest prince is dead, and now we control both the imperial guards and the palace. If we stand firm today, who's to say how history will remember us?" Seeing this, what else could the remaining bewildered ministers fail to understand? There was never any purple star. "Pei Yanli, Meng Deyuan, you're plotting." Before the words "to rebel" could fully leave his lips, the minister's throat was already slit. When a man dies, rebellion becomes a foregone conclusion. Without hesitation, Pei Yanli commanded in a deep voice, "Guards. Assassins have infiltrated the palace and taken Emperor Jiayuan hostage. Capture them immediately, dead or alive." The imperial guards sprang into action at the sound, surrounding both me and the emperor. Cold steel blades pressed against our throats. A mere flick of force would end our lives. Yet neither the emperor nor I showed the slightest fear. Indeed, history is written by the victors. "But, who says you're certain to win today?" I curled my lips into a provocative smile, provoked by my grin. Meng Wantang was the first to lose composure. "What do you mean? It means my death was faked. How could the Western Rong's surprise attack, losing 3 border cities in succession, and my eldest brother's death in battle, all exactly as recorded in the Celestial Book, possibly be real?" The word Celestial Book caused Meng Wantang and Pei Yanli's expressions to change abruptly. "How do you know about the Celestial Book?" "Impossible." My informants reported back, "Your brother is clearly dead." They spoke simultaneously, yet their concerns were entirely different. I didn't respond. 2 fingers lightly pushed aside the sword resting against my neck. A smirk curled at the corners of her lips. "How about you ask me how I entered the palace instead? Slander flows as easily as speech. A Western Rome raid is war. And our army's raid is war too." The eldest prince's acting skills were no less impressive than Fourth Sister's, with just 1 letter explaining the whole story. He brilliantly deceived Pei Yanli's spies. The sky was high and the road long. I was betting precisely on Pei Yanli and Meng Wantang's blind faith in the heavenly script, that they wouldn't verify the truth repeatedly. They were betting that all attention was focused on the court and Menghua city, leaving no time to spare for the Dragon Raw army in the east. This time, it was the dog hole that made the great contribution. Pei Yanli and his men thought the entire palace was under their control. Little did they know, a small detachment of the Longxiao army, which had secretly returned to the capital, had already entered the palace through a dog hole known only to Fourth Sister. The sword was pushed aside. The swords of the remaining imperial guards also swiftly changed direction. In the blink of an eye, the rebels inside the hall were subdued. The situation instantly reversed. Pei Yanli and Meng Wanting finally noticed Yi Mingju dressed in the Imperial Guard's uniform. Dragon Roar Battalion. You actually recalled the Dragon Roar Battalion. Me, how could I possibly have that much authority? It was Yi Mingju who stole General Qin's Tiger Tally and secretly recalled the troops. But I didn't explain. Instead, I looked up at the sky. Let me calculate. At this hour, Fourth Sister should have led people to open the palace gates. That 10,000-strong Imperial Guard under your command should have surrendered by now, as if confirming my words. Fourth Sister skipped in cheerfully. Sis, it's all settled outside. She took in the scene inside the hall. With a firm nod, she affirmed, not bad, you've worked quite quickly too. Pei Yanli and the Meng father-daughter duo wore wonderfully expressive faces, especially Pei Yanli, whose discontent was palpable. Why should I? When my great ancestor fought alongside your Lu family to conquer these lands, why should the imperial throne belong solely to you Lus? Meng Wanting simply couldn't believe she'd been defeated so effortlessly. Frantic, she struggled to break free from the restraints. Impossible, I am the chosen one. After today, I should be the empress, second only to one and above 10,000. Lu Shijin, it's you, you're the one who ruined me. A soft TSK sounded beside her ear as Fourth Sister frowned. No, sis, you're really getting into character. Picking up a notebook and following its instructions makes you the chosen one. Then what does that make me? The author, the mother of destiny, and you too. She turned to look at Pei Yanli with sincere eyes. You might not know this, but your great-grandfather was homosexual. None of you descendants are his biological children. In just a few sentences, Pei Yanli and Meng Wanting seemed to need a lifetime to digest the information. After a long silence, Pei Yanli finally found his voice, staring at me intently. You knew everything, if that's the case. Why didn't you stop me sooner? Why hadn't they stopped him sooner? Naturally, deposing the crown prince and dealing with the Qi family might earn me accusations of fratricide. When he exposes the Qi family's corruption case, I'll deal with him, then it'll be perfectly justified. Pei Yanli isn't foolish. Noticing the smile at my lips, he instantly grasped the underlying scheme. He gritted his teeth and said, after knowing each other for over 10 years. I never realized you had such courage and cunning. It was unclear whether his words were an exclamation or mockery. Clearly, he wasn't willing to accept defeat, because just as he was being escorted away at knife point and passed by me, he suddenly broke free from restraint, snatched the blade, and lunged at me. In the blink of an eye, I heard Fourth Sister and Yi Mingju exclaim in shock, Sister, watch out, Your Highness, be careful. The one who should be careful isn't me, it's Pei Yanli. I'm sick, not weak. Practicing martial arts strengthens the body. This is a principle I've known since childhood, but others don't understand, especially Pei Yanli. After Yi Mingju leaped to snatch away his long saber, his body stiffened violently. His eyes widened abruptly as he stared at his own chest in utter disbelief. There, embedded in his flesh, was a dagger. The dagger was plain yet razor-sharp, its only adornment a single translucent sapphire embedded in the hilt. How is this possible? How could it be impossible? When I emerged from that fire at 9 years old, I swore an oath no one would ever control my life again. My voice wasn't quiet. Pity he couldn't hear it anymore. He was dead. His eyes remained open in death, seeing his body collapse with a thud. The Meng father and daughter finally fell silent too, not daring to make another sound as they were escorted to prison, until everyone had gone far away, and all the dust had settled. Only then did father dismiss the crowd, leaving me alone with him, feigning death, mobilizing troops without imperial decree, drugging your emperor. Tell me, is there anything you wouldn't dare to do? It was clear this time. He was truly furious. His beard was trembling. But I wasn't afraid. I shrugged. There are many things I don't dare do, like actually dying. You dare talk back. With me lying there, weren't you afraid they'd really kill me? My furious father grabbed an inkstone from beside him and hurled it at me. I neither dodged nor flinched, and the inkstone brushed past me perfectly. Glancing back at the inkstone embedded in the door, I felt somewhat helpless. You can't bear to actually hit me, yet insist on putting on this act. Isn't this just wasteful? I sighed softly. He picked up the inkstone that had broken into 2 pieces, They wouldn't dare kill you. If they did, how could Pei Yanli maintain his reputation as a wise ruler? At most, he'd give you some slow-acting poison to make you bedridden for half a year before you die. Seeing him about to lose his temper again, I quickly tried to calm him down. Don't worry, I've had fourth sister replace all your medicine. What you drank was the tonic formula my mother specially prepared for you back then. I only added one sleeping agent, no side effects. Father Emperor's face remained grim. Is that what angers me? What angers me is you forcing my hand with threats of suicide, compelling me to act against the Qi family and abandon the Crown Prince. Mention of the Crown Prince and the Qi family ignited my own temper. As the Crown Prince, you fail to distinguish right from wrong and tolerate corruption among your maternal relatives and court officials, if such a prince isn't deposed. Should we keep him until this empire changes its surname to Qi? Father, forgive my bluntness, but you've truly failed as an emperor. These are supposed to be your imperial guards, yet they serve another master. These are supposed to be your ministers, yet they devote themselves to propping up someone else. Dare you swear this situation wasn't caused by your endless appeasement? I deliberately paused and snorted coldly. Father Emperor. You are the emperor, not just the Empress Dowager's son or the Crown Prince's father. You are the heavens above the people of Great Yuan, their justice. If you cannot be ruthless when ruthlessness is called for, how can you face those innocent commoners who died unjustly? All these years you've tolerated the Qi family, and it has already cost my mother her life, already sacrificed an entire city's worth of innocent lives. Now you still want to tolerate these parasites. Do you think the holes in your empire aren't big enough? These words seemed to strike Father Emperor's weak spot. He froze, but did not grow angry again, only his gaze traced my features, as if seeing someone else through me. After a long silence, he finally let out a weary sigh. Indeed, I've been quite a failure as emperor, even less perceptive than you. As these words left his lips, he seemed to age 10 years in an instant, but I knew he had finally made his decision. The Qi family. Chancellor Meng, Marquis Huayan, corrupt officials, rebellious courtiers, now he would spare none of them. At this moment, I felt like laughing, genuinely so. I'm far from enlightened. You know me, I'm just settling personal scores under official pretext. I spoke with His Majesty for quite some time. When I stepped out of the hall, dusk had already begun to fall. The setting sun cast fiery clouds that dyed the imperial palace crimson, amidst the sea of red. Two figures stood waiting silently at the gate, one standing, one seated. At the sound of footsteps, fourth sister suddenly sprang up and trotted over. Sister, did Father Emperor, did he harm you? Her nervous look was somewhat adorable. I couldn't resist pinching her puffy cheeks. What can you do to me? Kill me? Hearing me still able to joke, she also relaxed and let out a long sigh of relief, and behind him, Yi Mingju, who had been tense with muscles, gradually relaxed. Only then did I notice the ferocious wound snaking across his wrist. Recalling how he had wrested the knife when Pei Yanli tried to kill me, I clicked my tongue softly, his brows furrowed involuntarily. Worthless fool, can't you see I have a dagger? Don't you know how to dodge? He stammered. I saw it. In the glow of the setting sun, the man kept his head lowered, not daring to meet my gaze, but his cheeks and ears instantly turned red. This scene flashed through my mind. In that instant, I remembered why he looked familiar. That year when I was kidnapped by bandits and locked in a thatched hut, there had been a boy about my age, bruised and battered, peeking at me through the crack in the door. What did I say back then? Right, I think I cursed someone out. Called them bandits who wouldn't earn an honest living with their own hands and feet, just knew how to steal from others. They scolded him for running with horse bandits at such a young age, saying he'd be better off using that energy to earn military merits. That year, I'd already reduced many noble sons and daughters of similar age in the capital to tears with my sharp tongue. But that child didn't cry, he just flushed crimson, his eyes glistening bright. So, was he actually that child? Sis, what are you planning to do next? Fourth sister suddenly spoke up, interrupting my train of thought. I withdrew my gaze, not intending to hide it from her. I'm afraid the Western Rome might launch another surprise attack. I want to visit Menghua City to see eldest imperial brother. Hugging someone while acting cute was fourth sister's signature move when asking for favors. Sister, will you take me with you? Please take me, I can sing and tell stories. I'm such an adorable little sister, you won't regret bringing me along. Hearing this, Yi Mingzhou's eyes lit up. He also spoke up. Why, Your Highness? Can you take me along? Take you? Why should I take you? Are we that close? I raised an eyebrow, my gaze skeptical. Noticing the wound on his wrist, I couldn't help but frown again. Yi Mingzhou didn't move, he stood as if paralyzed. his gaze toward me suddenly burning with intensity. His expression was dazed. His appearance was somewhat peculiar. Beside him, fourth sister suddenly moved her head, her gaze abruptly dropping downward. Who knows what she saw? She leaped up violently and covered my eyes with her hands. She squealed wildly, like a rat with its tail stepped on. Sis, don't scold him. This pervert, you're making him hard." Footsteps scurried away in panic, fleeing hastily. Me, shut your mouth already. Fourth sister, my head hurts so bad. I feel an old ailment coming on. I've got a bad feeling about this. The trip to Menghua City is bound to be anything but peaceful. The end.